I'm actually sitting here doing some work in preparation for Friday's video, which is going to be all about tax credits because I continue to get the same questions a lot. And I want to make this as easy, as clear as possible. And part of this also comes with keeping up with all the changes that happen. Even though the bill is already signed, it's into law, there's still a lot of changes that happen. And we just had a pretty big one the other day, and it was that Tesla is officially announcing that the Model 3, no matter which trim you get, qualifies for the full $7,500 tax credit. Now, I do not know for a fact why they were able to do that or how they were able to do that, but from what I've read, it sounds like potentially what they've done is they were able to use averages. Because of the way that the law is written, it is open enough with kind of a loophole where you remember when it said 40% requirement on critical minerals? Well, it sounds like Tesla perhaps has decided that their interpretation of that by having a performance Model 3 that has fully compliant minerals and having a Model 3 rear-wheel drive that's not fully compliant, they average out. So somehow they've figured out how to do this, and it's great news for you as a consumer. That's the point. By the way, if you are one of those people that continues to say, well, nobody gets that much on their return, so it's really pointless anyways, make sure you're subscribed, because the video on Friday, I'm going to show you why that thought process is completely wrong. Do not get a tax refund confused with tax liability. Again, on Friday, I will be spelling this out very clearly for you. I've actually created two 1040s that I'm going to put up on the screen and show you very specifically where you need to look and why your refund is not your tax liability. So make sure you're subscribed so when Friday comes around, you're notified and I can keep you up to date on these changes as they happen. What I'm getting at today is I have been looking at fueleconomy.gov's website for quite a while, and they were not showing that same $7,500 qualification. So I want to show you a couple things, because if you bought a Model 3 already this year, you're about to really enjoy this video. If you bought a Model 3 between January and here in June, you're probably going to be very pleased with how this video is about to go. And for those of you considering, obviously at this point, no matter if you're looking at a rear-wheel drive Model 3 or a long-range Model 3, they come with the full $7,500 tax credit. And this is now confirmed on fueleconomy.gov, which is the repository for the government to house that information. So they are certifying that the rear-wheel drive Model 3 and the long-range Model 3 are both qualified for the full $7,500. So before I dive into that, there's one other thing I want to address in this video as well. A number of you have said that you claimed a tax credit for your 2022 taxes for purchasing a Tesla. Some of you say your CPA, your tax accountant, whoever allowed you to do this. You are going to be very disappointed. You did not qualify for that tax credit, and I'm going to show you where you're going to find this information. So even though you were able to submit it as a tax credit, you're going to get dinged. The IRS is going to come back at you. They have a clawback clause and they will take interest and penalties for that. So if you're amending a tax return for 22, do not claim a credit for a Tesla because you saw somebody do it online. Do not do that. You were not qualified for any tax credit if you bought a Tesla in 2022. So here on this particular page on fueleconomy.gov, you can see the two different scenarios. So you either purchased a vehicle before August 17th and placed it into service before the end of the year, or if you entered that binding contract that was allowed before August 16th, but even though you didn't take possession, or if you purchased that vehicle after August 17th and before the end of the year. So if you bought a Tesla before August 17th, so August 16th and before, Tesla didn't qualify anyways. Bill was passed. Now, this is when those new rules went into place, but only some of them. So vehicle purchased on the 17th or after, Tesla's not even on the list, and it is because the rules did not include everything. Basically, what happened was it allowed for all vehicles that are assembled in North America to then qualify for the old rules that were in place to get you up to $7,500. Tesla, unfortunately, still was at that 200,000 vehicle cap, so they did not magically all of a sudden start getting these tax credits because that rule stayed in place till the end of the year. So GM and Tesla were not qualified for that tax credit. I cannot stress that enough. If you took that credit, you need to amend your taxes and send a check ASAP to the IRS to avoid issues in the future. Okay, so now let's get on to the good stuff because this is where things get kind of exciting. So this is the other website that you can look at on fueleconomy.gov that shows you all the vehicles that are qualified for the tax credits and how much of the tax credits they're qualified for. So there's two scenarios. Once again, you either purchased it between January 1st and April 18th, or you purchased it after April 18th. So if you purchased it before, there were different rules in place than after April 18th, because that's when we officially got the guidance. So as you well know by now, here's the Teslas on the list, and they all officially, as of last night, they all say $7,500, which certifies that what Tesla was communicating is accurate and it is qualified for the full $7,500. This is where things get a little bit interesting. And for those of you who already purchased a rear-wheel drive Model 3 or a long-range Model 3 somehow that wasn't available, you are going to be very happy because I just happened to click on this, just messing around here. So if you purchased it and placed it into service January 1st, after December 31st, 2022, which means January 1st, and before April 18th, so through the 17th, take a look at this. When we select Tesla, all the vehicles show $7,500. So this change from Tesla doesn't just impact future purchases. Apparently, this impacts all purchases in 2023. So there's a number of you who purchased a Model 3 rear-wheel drive at the beginning of the year. Tesla was offering some incentives. And even just these last couple of weeks, Tesla has been offering some pretty good discounts on the rear-wheel drive Model 3 in inventory. And you were purchasing that vehicle understanding you were going to qualify for $3,750 in tax credits. Well, it turns out you're actually going to get double that. So again, assuming you qualify for the full amount, the vehicle certainly now qualifies for the full $7,500. So if you bought a rear-wheel drive Model 3 on January 1st, it was qualified for $3,750. But with this change, you are going to get $7,500, even though it was $3,750 when you purchased. $7,500 for the entire year, which is a huge win for a number of you who purchased vehicles this first half of the year so far. So I really want to hear from you. If you purchased a Model 3 rear-wheel drive or a long range and you bought it from inventory, or you ordered it, you took delivery between January 1st and let's say yesterday, are you pleasantly surprised? This is amazing news. So all Model Ys, all Model 3s, all trims here in the US, starting January 1st, $7,500, regardless of what the rule was at the time of your purchase. So obviously this is incredible news, especially for those of you who purchased one earlier this year and we're expecting $3,750. So I do hope that you enjoyed this video. If you do, of course, give it the thumbs up. If you haven't already, of course, subscribe to the channel as we continue to post content regularly. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram @BeardedTesla. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll catch you next time.